No one ever told us that we had a voice. You know, I never saw my mother vote. I didn't see the community organizing, standing up for their rights. And so you see communities like mine marginalized and disenfranchised, and that's just the way it's always been.
We really believe that change is driven by those most impacted by the problem. And throughout our history, we've really been able to, and fortunate to, be able to identify really strong leaders that have catalyzed lots of change in the state of California.
I started acknowledging and seeing what I call injustices in my community. I started seeing the unequal balance of power in my community. I started seeing that people like myself, people of color, low-income women, we were not at the table making decisions, and that those who were making decisions had not even consulted with us about what they should do.
The Women's Policy Institute is a 12-month intensive training program to teach grassroots women from California how to participate in the policy process.
The WPI is really about getting women who are not traditionally going to be exposed to the legislative process more involved, coaching them through that, training them, giving them the skills to be able to work in these buildings, in these hearing rooms, and work legislation.
Going from, you know, how to write a bill, how a bill becomes a law, what committee hearings are all about, how to engage policymakers. I'm constantly up here in Sacramento, you know, working these hallways, making connections, trying to make sure that we can get some work done on the state level so it can actually roll down to my county and my city.
The success of the Women's Policy Institute has really been one of my biggest surprises in my career. These women have been able to move so much policy.
When you give a woman a voice and you give her the knowledge of her own power, that she has control over her life, her children's life, she can control her community, that's giving somebody freedom.
Having moms and families, children and mothers, who are directly affected by these policies participate in how they're created is crucial, because you have legislators who, you know, they've never done WIC shopping on a bus, they've never fed their family with the food stamp. They really have no idea what it is that families struggle with and what low-income mothers need. We came up and we did some meetings with key legislators. We came up and gave testimony at some of these big hearings they held on what our welfare program should look like. And we were able to convince some key committee members to include as high as a master's teaching credential as an allowable welfare to work activity in our state CalWORKs program. Supporting a mother in pursuing post-secondary education, you break the cycle of poverty. You know, the most important indicator of a child's educational attainment is that of their parents, and in particular the same-sex parent.
In the women that I have met over these years who were on welfare, who have gotten access to post-secondary education, their lives and the lives of their children have been completely transformed. It's those people who best understand the problem that probably, in partnership with others, can craft the solution that's going to work best in communities, and that they're the best messengers.
By putting a human face on the issue, it just brings, I don't know, it moves people in a way that statistics and data and studies never will.
One of the biggest challenges that we're facing now, and have been really facing for a couple of years, is our budget crisis. So there's so little resource really to bring about a lot of the change that we want to bring about, that we believe California needs, and we are beginning to look at other solutions.
We've learned a lot about training. When you're putting people together into a team for the first time, you've got to focus on team development. You've got to focus on interpersonal and leadership skill development. So over the years, we've really added a lot of leadership skill development to the program.
It's I think, very tangible to talk about a bill and to use that as a learning tool for the fellows over the course of the year. The budget process is where we're seeing a lot of changes happening in programs, and that's a much tougher road to travel as someone who's new to the legislature.
So some of our biggest challenges are that we don't have the time to be able to do the training in the various areas that we'd like.
We're a grassroots organization, and we're under the leadership of low-income mothers and their children. That's you know, it's our greatest asset, it's our greatest strength, but at the same time, it's also our greatest challenge, because people are in crisis They're trying to survive. They're trying to navigate a system and succeed in school. So getting parents involved sometimes can be a very challenging endeavor when their lives are already so overwhelming.
In the time that we've been doing policy work, there's been a growing realization in California and across the country that policy advocacy work is really the key to fixing some of the issues that we need to fix. We know that if a woman's life changes, the life of her family changes, and ultimately the life of her community changes.